Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military with Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine or in the world on the 22nd of January of 2026. Today we have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. Indeed, today is a very interesting day. We have too many updates. We have updates about the situation on the ground. The Russians managed to improve their positions. We have updates about protests to the territory of Ukraine. We have updates about energy crisis. We have updates about upcoming talks between Russia, Ukraine, and the United States of America. We have updates about Witkov arriving on the territory of Russia. By the way, their meeting is about to be finished most likely. And of course, we have lots of updates from Davos. We have probably one of the most important updates of the previous 24 hours. The Peace Council or the Board of Peace was created or established. And we have Zelensky, who made too many statements during the previous 24 hours. And as I understand, that was his biggest mistake. So once again, let's discuss everything, and you will understand why I'm trying to tell you why those statements were biggest mistake of the president of Ukraine, Zelensky. So let's discuss this. Zelensky has made the biggest mistake of his career. Today, the main news should have been about the creation of the Board of Peace. We have already discussed this. But Zelensky came to Davos. Nobody expected that he would come, but the President of the United States of America, for some reason, called him. And when he came, first of all, he insulted the President of the United States of America, Trump. Then he insulted the United States of America. Then he said nasty things about Europe. And we are not talking about the Russian Federation and Putin himself, because we understand that there is a war, so that is why probably we can understand why Zelensky may talk about Putin like this. And you know that the most important thing and the most important detail I would like to point attention to this video. The President Trump was trying to create something that can resolve conflicts in the future, and he didn't get a standing ovation. But the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, got standing ovations when he was insulting everyone. Trump will never forgive Zelensky for this. Anyway, let's wait and see what is going to be next. But now it's clear that Zelensky is the main topic of the 22nd of January of 2026, not the President of the United States of America and not his Board of Peace. Let's discuss everything that was stated by Zelensky. He said the following: instead of becoming a truly global power, Europe remains beautiful but fragmented of small and middle powers, instead of taking decisive responsibility for defending freedom worldwide. Another important thing, don't forget that he also insulted Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary. Another statement: why can't Trump stop tankers from the Shadow Fleet and says oil but Europe does not? Very interesting. Another important thing, just last year here in Davos, I ended my speech with words: Europe needs to know how to defend itself. A year has passed and nothing has changed. Another, let's say, nasty thing about Europe. Another thing, we will have a trilateral meeting in the United Arab Emirates tomorrow. This is a very important piece of news between Russia, Ukraine, and the United States of America. Another important thing, today Europe relies mainly on the belief that if danger comes, NATO will act, but no one has ever really seen the alliance tested in full. If Putin decided to take Lithuania or strike Poland, who would respond? NATO exists thanks to the belief that the United States will act, that it will not stand aside and will help. But what if it does not? So this is a very nasty thing again. Another important statement: Maduro is on trial in New York. Sorry, but Putin is not on trial. What was he trying to tell about? Everyone gave attention to Greenland, and it is clear most leaders are not sure what to do about it. It seems like everyone is just waiting for America to cool down on this topic, hoping it will pass away. But what if will not? What then? Too many statements Zelensky made during the previous 24 hours. He was in spotlight once again, but it's too early to make conclusions. Let's wait and see what is going to be next, because most likely conclusions and the consequences of his statements, we will see tomorrow, and only then we will be able to make conclusions. But as of now, one thing is important, that the US delegation is going to travel to the Russian Federation, where the special representative Witkov Peskov is going to have a meeting with the president of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin. According to information we have, they're going to talk about money. Ukraine and the United States of America will propose to start something like energy ceasefire, not to attack each other. Ukraine will not attack tankers. Ukraine will not attack oil refineries. The Russian Federation will not attack energy infrastructure through the territory of Ukraine. But if you ask my opinion, I believe that Russia will ask up to 25% of frozen assets for this. Russia will not attack energy infrastructure, Ukraine will not attack energy infrastructure of the Russian Federation, and the European countries may unfreeze up to 25% of frozen assets of the Russian Federation. So I believe that Putin thinks that this might be a fair deal, but not something that Ukraine and the United States of America are proposing right now. Anyway, let's wait and see. Tomorrow, as we can see, is going to be a very interesting day. Now let's discuss the situation on the ground. During the previous 24 hours, we received lots of very important updates. The Ukrainian sources are saying that during the day, the Russians were bombing and attacking the Dnipro region. As you might know, there are protests through the territory of Kryvyi Rog. We start receiving lots of updates of how residents were blocking the road in the city of Kryvyi Rog because they are tired of having no electricity, and the Russians began attacking this region since the beginning of this morning. We have lots of videos with Russia's drones that were flying above the city of Dnipro and with many explosions through the residential area. So that was the first video, and this is the second video. The situation is very difficult, and the different pro-Ukrainian sources started that the Russians began bombing and attacking the city of Kryvyi Rog this morning, and the sources are saying that the Russians still haven't finished. The sources are saying that just an hour ago, 20 more drones were launched by Russia in the direction of the city. So it seems that the Russians are planning to destroy the Kryvyi Rog power station completely and to create a total blackout for this territory. So tomorrow is a very interesting day, as you can see. As for the situation on the ground, during the previous 12 hours, additional changes on the ground were recorded. The Russians continue improving their positions around the settlement of Zalizhnishne. We have changes on the ground. This is the situation by the end of the 21st of January, and this is the end of the 22nd of January. The Russians continue their offensive operation further in the northern direction along railways with the purpose to attack the settlement of Zalizhnishne from the south. So let's wait and see, but as of now, the Russians are very slow. They were moving much faster 3 or 4 months ago, while they were moving through the east, let's say to the east of the river of Gaichur. But as soon as the Russians crossed the river of Gaichur, either they stopped or they were forced to stop by the armored forces of Ukraine. Now let's move further and let's talk about the Dobropillia direction, where the Russian Dobropillia major offensive operation is gaining momentum. During the previous day, we received lots of changes on the ground. Let's compare the map between the days first of all. This is the end of the 18th of January of 2026, and this is approximately the moment when everything started. This is the end of the 19th of January. The Russians improved their positions in the area of the villages of Ivanovka, Dorozhny and Novodonbass. So these territories were captured by Russians, and the Russians managed to shorten the distance to the city of Dobropillia for less than 4 kilometers, which is already nothing. As for the 20th of January, the Russians began clashes, very heavy clashes for the settlement of Grishina. The Russians began advancing in this area, trying to establish complete control over the southern and the central parts of the city as soon as possible. As of now, there are still very heavy clashes, but every single day we adjust the map in Russian favor. So this is the end of the 20th, and this is the end of the 21st. As you can see, once again, lots of changes right exactly in this area. And as of the end of the 22nd of January, we have adjusted the map significantly. It seems that the defense of the armored forces of Ukraine has collapsed. The Russians improved their position significantly in the area of the city by the name of Belitska. The entire eastern and the southeastern parts of the settlement were captured by Russia. These are the changes. Furthermore, the Russians managed to establish complete control and to capture the strongholds to the west of the settlement of Rodinska. The Ukrainians used to use this territory to carry out counter counterattacks in the direction of the city itself. Now this stronghold is under complete Russian control. Now the Russians have no barriers in front of them to attack and to advance further in the northwestern direction to attack the city of Shevchenka. And the most important thing, the Russians managed to break through Ukrainian defense in the western direction in the area of the villages of Novopodgorodny and Sergeyevka. So these are the changes on the ground, and as you can see, these changes are very big. This information was provided today by pro-Russian sources. Of course, now we are waiting for additional updates. We are waiting for videos, for additional updates made by reliable sources, neutral mappers, pro-Ukrainian sources. But if this information is correct, this means that the Russians are about to capture the settlement of Novopodgorodny. Another important thing, the Russians are about to answer the village by the name of Sergeyevka. Currently, the distance between edge positions of the armed forces of the Russian Federation and the village of Sergeyevka itself is around 2 kilometers, which is already nothing. The Russians are using broad front line attack, and the total length of the front line the Russians are using for the attack purposes is already 40 kilometers. So this is the entire line where the Russians are trying to advance further in the northwestern direction. And according to the previous day clashes and results, we see that the results are significant. Most likely tomorrow we will see additional changes. If Ukrainians are not able to stabilize the situation in this area, then Russians from these positions will be able to enter the southern parts of the Kharkiv region and the even northern parts of the Dnipro regions. So from these positions, the Russians can create lots of problems for Ukraine. As for the Konstantinovka direction, there are still very heavy clashes for the southern part of the settlement. Once again, this is a very important thing. There is a river by the name of Krivoy Terets that splits the city of Konstantinovka for its southern and northern parts. So this is the river, and as you can see, according to the map, there are not so many places where Ukrainians can cross this river. So basically, this river splits the city into two separate and completely unconnected parts. There are several, once again, river crossings, but the Russians control these territories with FPV drones. The only way how Ukrainians were able to supply their forces was the roads between the settlement of Osikova and the northwestern part of the city itself. But I would like to remind you that several days ago the Russians destroyed the bridge in this area. And we have this picture. So the bridge was destroyed. Ukrainians currently have huge problems with logistics in this area. But at the same time, the Ukrainians continue sending more and more troops and forces in this area. The Russians control the situation. And when they see that another vehicle enters this territory, the Russians are trying to destroy this vehicle immediately. So this is an example. Ukrainians were trying to bring additional probably arms, munition or mines as close as possible to the line of combat contact, but the vehicle was destroyed as a result of FPV drone attack. Furthermore, the Russians began bombing and attacking the most western parts of the city of Konstantinovka, trying to destroy these multiple block store buildings. As you can see, very heavy explosion. So this is the citadel of the city of Konstantinovka. We're talking about this territory. The Russians are trying to use this situation with poor logistics of this part of Konstantinovka with the purpose to break through Ukrainian defense and to establish complete control over the southwestern part of the settlement. Currently, there are very heavy clashes for this territory. Both the Ukrainians and the Russians understand that this is a decisive part of the battle. Who wins the battle for the southwestern and the western parts of the city of Konstantinovka most likely will win the battle for the entire battle for the city. Now let's talk about the Liman direction. During the previous 24 hours, we received huge changes, and they concerns the southeastern part of the city itself. These are the changes on the ground, and this information was provided by pro-Russian sources. And according to these updates, the Russians improved their position significantly in this part of the settlement, and the Russians continue advancing. At the same time, the Ukrainians are trying to bring additional reinforcements and reserves through the area around the villages of Piskov Skunovka, Brusivka, Stary Caravan, but as you can see, the Russians control the situation in this area with FPV drones, and everything that is trying to cross this territory can be destroyed by Russians within seconds. Lots of vehicles, as you can see, lots of reinforcements and reserves that Ukrainians were trying to redeploy further in the northern direction, but everything, almost everything, was either damaged or even destroyed by Russians. So this is the situation, and based on these updates, we believe that the Russians will be able to improve their positions on the territory of the city of Liman in coming days significantly. Another important update is coming from the Barova direction. During the previous 12 hours, the Russians improved their positions around the settlement of Karovy Yar. Based on the report published by pro-Russian sources, we adjusted the map. As we can see, the Russians are trying to cut the settlement of Karovy Yar in pincers and to encircle the contingent of the armed forces of Ukraine completely, or to force them to fall back. As for the Kupiansk direction, nothing special. The same thing about the Kharkiv direction. The situation remains tense, but without changes on the ground. So this is the day. This is the end of the 22nd of January. Tomorrow is a very important day. We will receive lots of updates and reports from Moscow and from the United Arab Emirates. But based on the statements that were made by Zelensky in Davos, I believe that tomorrow we won't see any progress in the peace process. And that's it for today. Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.